We're thankful to be joined by Paul Gallant of ESPN 97.5's The Paul Gallant Show to talk everything Cougs after this massive win and now getting a seat in the Final Four. Paul, what has stood out to you in this Final Four run for Houston?
I'd say specifically this weekend that the Cougs were able to survive and advance without awesome play from their two best players. Juwan Roberts dealt with foul trouble in both of the games this weekend. And then on top of that, LJ Cryer was not shooting the lights out like you hope for from him. Their depth, more than anything this year, is a strength that they just haven't had in years past. And of course, we saw them lose the last 2 years that they were in the Sweet 16. So now they're in the Final Four, and we have seen other guys step up when those two have not been at their best. Now, in the Final Four, with all 4-1 seeds left in the tournament, they can't afford for those guys to not show up, but that's what I'm most encouraged by, Zach.
Now, what do you get for being one of the best defensive teams in the country? Now you're going to get to play one of the best offensive teams in the country in Duke, who has Cooper Flagg and obviously a lot of weapons. As we take a long view to Saturday's matchup, what are your first impressions?
Look, they did get fortunate over the last couple of games. I think playing at Lucas Oil Field, which is a football stadium, made it a little bit difficult for both Purdue and Tennessee to shoot. Then you factor in how good the Cougs are on defense and how awesome they are at rebounding. And neither of those teams, if they were on an off night shooting, which both of them were going to be able to ultimately win that. Obviously, the Purdue game was very, very close. But Duke is a team that scores. Duke is averaging 91.75 points a game in this tournament. And, the Cougs, they've only been scoring in the 70s. They're allowing 56. All of those things are great, but you are really going to have to play a level of defense against Duke and the best player in the country in Cooper Flagg that they have not had to play to this point.
And one of the other points I think that's important to make is that they can't go on these runs against Duke, a team that's so talented offensively. They can't go on these runs where they're going minutes without scoring. It's very difficult to close the gap against a team that's very talented offensively like Duke is, even if you play great defense.
Yeah, and there's been a couple of stretches the last couple of games where the Cougs have just stopped scoring. Right. And yeah, a team like Duke, they are going to pounce on that. They're going to have to play probably their best game of the tournament this coming Saturday. I do think it's possible. This might be the de facto national title with how good Duke is, with how deep the Cougs are. So we'll see what happens. I'm very excited for it.
And that's a great point. It could in fact be the de facto national title. Now, Houston's defense has obviously been their calling card all season, but what do you see as one of their X factors going into the Final Four?
Got to be Kelvin Sampson. That play that he drew up at the end of the game against Duke, man, what a beautiful play. I mean, to have the guy who inbounds the ball, sneak underneath the basket for a wide open layup, and hey, you can blame Braden Smith on Purdue for losing his guy, but Milo Suzan just stands underneath it, puts it in, game blouses. It was fantastic to see. Kelvin Sampson, I think, is the best coach left in this tournament. Obviously, things have changed for Duke with no Coach K anymore. I think that is the X factor that if we're comparing them to all the other schools that are left, I think that is something that they have in their back pocket that gives them an edge over all three of the schools left.
And Paul, that play that Kelvin Sampson drew up, that is going to go down in infamy if they are to win this Final Four game or even perhaps win a national championship. We'll have to see how it all shakes out on Saturday in San Antonio.